each and every Wednesday here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. It's a Weinberg Wednesday, and Dave Weinberg joins the show each week here on 97.3 ESPN. There he is, live in virtual living color. Dave, how you doing today?
I'm sweating, Josh. I don't know about you. It's really hot out today.
Well, I was sweating this morning, but apparently at a certain point in the afternoon, just to kind of pull the curtain back, someone in the building decides to crank up the air conditioning. So I have a hoodie with me. So I was freezing for about an hour and a half after sweating earlier this morning. So
a hoodie. My goodness, that must have been cold.
Yeah, I'm one of those people. I like the medium, Dave, when I'm indoors. Like when I'm indoors, I don't want it too hot. I don't want it too cold. I kind of like that middle ground. And it's like I don't understand how people love like these super extreme temperature swings.
Yeah, well, I used to like the heat, not so much anymore. But I'll take the heat over extreme cold, though. You can always take some clothes off if you need to, so to speak. So, but yeah, I'm with you. I like it like a little bit in the middle.
So speaking of the middle, Dave, I opened the show talking about this, people are reacting to Nick Sirianni because, we live in a world, people, all they do is they read a headline and that's all they know, right? And I thought the second part of what Sirianni said today is, which was important, Dave, which was he told the media, look, who we have starting with the ones is who's we expect to start.
Right.
So to me, Sirianni told you exactly who is starting. He just told you that Hurts, who's taken every first snap at quarterback, is your starter. Yep. And then Mailata, who's taken every snap with the first team for 3 straight weeks now, is the starter. I don't understand why people are losing their minds because Sirianni opened the quote by saying that he wasn't going to name a starter at this moment in time.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much written in stone here now. I mean, not permanently, but yeah, he made it pretty clear. I think he did kind of waffle a little bit, it seemed like, with Mailata and Dillard. Kind of seemed like they want to leave the door open for Andre to maybe win that job down the road. But as of now, like you said, Jordan's taking every snap at the one, so he is the starting left tackle. And I'd be really, really surprised if he wasn't in the starting lineup against Atlanta on September 12th.
I said earlier, Dave, I think the reason why they're playing this verbiage game with Dillard is because I think that we know that teams are calling the Eagles to trade him, and I think the Eagles are trying to escalate his trade value, which honestly, if you can get a good picker player in return for Dillard, I'm not going to begrudge the Eagles for doing that.
No, absolutely not. I mean, first-round draft pick, he's going to command something. I think there is something there. He just hasn't come out yet, I mean, as far as his talent goes. But you're right. I mean, Mailata has been pretty impressive. And as you heard Sirianni say, Andre's had an excellent camp, which I find very hard to believe. But, yeah, that's just pumping up the player, trying to increase his draft, his trade value. And if you're right, if they can get like a fourth or a third for him, then go ahead and do it.
And when I say this, I think people might misunderstand when I say this, Dave. But to me, I don't hate Dillard, okay? I don't either. I don't hate people, like that. You know what I mean? He's a football player. He did nothing wrong to me or you or anybody else. But my position is that I just know that Jeff Stoutland seems to like guys who have more versatility than he does. And when you have a left tackle who only can play one position, I feel like that may be lower on the Jeff Stoutland tier of guys that he prefers.
Probably. I mean, he does value versatility, like you said. He wants guys that can play both sides, or maybe even like inside and outside. Left tackle, though, I think you probably want somebody that's more specific to that position if you can. So for that reason, I would think you might want to keep Andre as an insurance policy because left tackle is so valuable. But yeah, you're right. I mean, they would prefer someone who could play both sides, but. I don't know if that's the reason they would trade Andre. I just think that because of his trade value, they would try to get rid of him. But I don't think it has anything to do with his versatility. I'm not sure, but
gotcha. Dave Weinberg joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN at Dave Weinberg 19 on Twitter. Extra point columns at 97.3ESPN.com. Dave, obviously the game on Thursday was a dumpster fire because. It just became a domino. It was like an avalanche. One thing happens, everything else happens, and people lose their minds. But I want to ask you about the bigger picture about it, which is Sirianni is joining this group of people out there who claim that they get more value out of the joint practices than the preseason games because they can control scenarios. What do you think about this growing trend that more and more coaches don't value actual game action in the preseason?
I can kind of see their point as far as you want to get the backups as much exposure as you can, or you want to maybe see if maybe there's another team that's interested in those guys. But I know you've probably talked about this before ad nauseum, but I don't understand, just because Jalen Hurts didn't play, why do you have to sit everybody else?
Right.
I don't see where one had to do with the other. Your offensive line still needs to work together as much as possible. I thought Miles Sanders deserved to run behind the first string offensive line if he could. Joe Flacco even deserved a shot at dropping back to pass with a little bit of protection once in a while. I didn't understand it at all. I get the value of the joint practices. There is something to that, I guess, but I don't think anything replaces being out there. Some fans in the stands, your adrenaline is pumped up a little bit more than it would be in a practice. I think both should be a part of your training camp regimen.
Do you think that the fear of people getting injured has started debilitating people's ability to be proper evaluators?
That could be. I mean, it does seem like there's more injuries, but injuries are always part of the game, Josh. I mean, I think you still have to put them out there against competition and see how they can perform. I mean, I don't see how you can. Maybe in your quarterback, that's obviously a different scenario. But although I do think Jalen should play at least a quarter against the Jets, because he hasn't hardly played at all. So I think you need to get him out there to get a little bit of game action under his belt. But as far as the other guys, I can see the value of maybe sitting them a little bit rather than risking some injury, because that is a possibility. But, I mean, you can get injured in practice just as easily, though.
Right, and my position is, I know the Eagles don't think the way I do, so I'm very well aware that my opinion does not reflect the views and perspective of the Philadelphia Eagles, but I just feel like you can't simulate game action. You know what I mean?
No, you cannot.
So to me, this Friday, they won't have any more football games for 2 weeks.
Right.
So
right.
that means
Absolutely right.
You're going to go into this Atlanta game with the only thing you've done is joint practices and 11-on-11s in practice. And I understand people do it in college all the time, but in college, your job is not football. It's just a part of what you do as a student athlete. To me, this is your job. And it's hard for me to tell somebody, hey, I'm going to get the best version of you if I haven't seen you actually get reps at doing that.
Yeah, you're right. There is no substitute for actual game action. You need to be out there. It doesn't have to be the whole game. It doesn't have to be a whole half, but a quarter and a half, something to just get that feeling of playing football again against an opponent. And you can have all the joint practices you want. They're still structured. They're still not quite the same as being out there in the stadium with people and the adrenaline, like I said, pumping. I think there's something to be said. You need to have some preseason action under your belt before the regular season starts, especially now where there's only 3 preseason games. Like you mentioned, they're going to have like 2 weeks before the season's over. There's a lot of rust that can build up in that spot and that span.
Absolutely. Dave Weinberg joining us for another edition of Weinberg Wednesday here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Dave, last week was a bit of a sombering moment in terms of high school basketball, because we have not one but 2 very, very long-time staples of South Jersey high school basketball stepping down. Tom Farraco from Middle Township and now Dave DeWeese from Wildwood Catholic. I mean, these are 2 guys they're synonymous with South Jersey basketball. So to me, it's very surprising to have it happen all at one time. It's like when it rains, it pours.
Yeah, I guess it's just a changing of the guard, maybe because of what happened last year. The uncertainty of this season, it seems like that's cropping up. Maybe they just had enough. And as I think I mentioned last week, I'm pretty close to both of those guys. Dating back to our high school careers together. I played against Tom baseball when he played for Wildwood Catholic. I was a pitcher for Lower Cape May, and then Dave DeWeese went to Wildwood High, and I played against him as well. So I've known those guys for both a long time. Both tremendous coaches, both tremendous people. And, it's sad to see them go, but I wish them all the best in their future endeavors. And maybe it is time. Maybe it is time for some of the younger guys to step up and have their turn in the spotlight.
I just would like to see whoever steps up get the opportunity to have sustained time. You know what I mean? Because one of my concerns with today's world is people's impatience. People are so impatient in today's world. Like, most people don't know about the histories of some of the best coaches, how they had losing records or they had to go through down times. People only know the success. So to me,
right.
I just hope that whoever is given the opportunity that after 3 years is like, this guy did it, get him out of here. I just hope that the school and the parents and the communities of these schools give the people who are stepping in an opportunity to have that success long term.
Right. Give them an opportunity to make their own imprint on the program. It's going to be very difficult to follow Tom and Dave because of the success that they enjoyed, but they struggled also when they first started out, like any young coach would. And they need the time. They deserve the opportunity to have a few years to build the program back up, make their instill their philosophies and their strategies, and then see what happens. But you're right. There's so many people that. They're so quick to make a judgment on people, and it's a shame on the high school level in particular because the players are changing all the time, and you need the time to just build your program the way you want to build it, and it may not be the same as Tom and Dave, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to have success. And by the way, don't be surprised if Lamar Greer is Middle Township's head coach.
And that would probably be a good choice, honestly, because of the fact that the other thing I was going to say is, Dave, you know better than anybody covering South Jersey high school sports for as long as you have been being in this area, how important it is to have relationships in this area. We have school choice now. Wildwood Catholic can recruit from anybody in the region, right? For someone like Wildwood Catholic.
You said it, I didn't.
Hey, I will say, I've been saying this, and no one's told me I'm wrong, so I'm just going to keep saying it, okay? So,
You're not.
The point is that these kids and these parents can send these kids where they want to. And
That's
these
true.
schools, the part of having the coach is being a face and developing relationships in the region, the community. So you need to give these people time, whoever they are, whether it is Greer or somebody else, to say, I'm the coach, I'm here long term, you can trust me with your sons.
Right. I mean, there is something, I guess, to be said for hiring maybe a former player from your program or an assistant coach under that coach to try and maybe just maintain a sense of stability. But on the other hand, maybe you want a fresh approach. Maybe you want somebody from the outside who has no ties to the program, and maybe they can try something different and maybe get the team, the town and the team excited again. I guess there's two ways to look at it, but either way, like you said, whoever comes in, they deserve the opportunity to instill make their own mark and not have to rely on like what happened in the past, but to try to just instill their philosophies for the present and hopefully the future too.
Well, it's funny you said that because also, over at Wildwood Catholic, an example of someone they brought in from quote unquote the outside was Steve DePatry for the girls basketball team. He was at Sacred Heart for all those years, right? And he goes to Wildwood Catholic and even has just as much, if not better, success. So you could argue that sometimes, yes, you do need a fresh set of eyes to come in there in order to make sure that you do what you want with the program, because it's not just about winning, it's about the culture these people bring in.
Oh, absolutely right. And then Steve's a perfect example of that, like you said, although, I mean, he was helped by bringing a few players along from when Sacred Heart closed with him, Kennedy Johnson being a notable example. That kind of helped him transition too. I mean, it helped him sustain a little bit of success, or take what Sacred Heart had been able to do and bring it over to Wildwood Catholic. But in the meantime, in the subsequent years, he's established a definite winning program, and more credit to him. And you're right. If you can get a guy, it doesn't matter like where they come from, but if they are able to give them the opportunity and people have patience with them, let them build things the way they think that it should be built, then you're going to have success, I think.
Dave, a local thing that you were involved in recently, the Atlantic City Basketball Hall of Fame inductions over the weekend.
Boxing, not basketball.
Boxing, basketball,
okay.
Boxing. It's all B words in my head at this point.
No, I understand.
I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. But anyway,
that's okay.
The point is that Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame, obviously you were part of that. Tell the folks about what that was like and some of the things you observed over the weekend.
Oh, fantastic event, Josh. Ray McCline, who's the president of the Boxing Hall of Fame, he does a fantastic job, and it gets just getting bigger and better every year. This was the 5th induction ceremony. They combined the classes of 20 and 21. So you had some of the best in town last weekend. Tito Trinidad, Roy Jones Jr., Kelly Pavlik, who was a very famous name in Atlantic City boardwalk boxing era. So yeah, it was a fantastic event. They had it at the Hard Rock Soundwaves Arena for the first time, and I personally thought that was terrific. I've never been there before, and I'd always been to like fights and concerts at the Edis Arena. The Soundwaves drew a terrific crowd, great atmosphere, really exciting, and more importantly, the guys who were inducted, they were genuinely excited and thrilled to be a part of it, and that's what it's all about.
I know for me, watching the Pro Football Hall of Fame a couple weeks ago, having the two classes, one on Saturday, one on Sunday, it was so much that you felt like you had to condense everything, because they told, even Peyton Manning joked about he had to condense his speech a little bit, for being up there. Was there a sense of them having to like fit everybody in over the weekend over to Atlantic City?
Kinda, yeah. It was there was a lot of people, and a lot of people wanted to make speeches, which they certainly deserve to. But yeah, they tried to limit that to 2 minutes if they could. Not many people stuck to that. So I mean, there was some entertaining. It was entertaining in the beginning, and a lot of people, they made some people laugh and told some touching stories. But then after a while, it started to I don't want to say drag on a little bit, but it was kind of getting long. And yeah, it's really tough when you have two classes into one. But, I don't know how the way to do it. Maybe you just have one induction on Saturday, one on Sunday. But I don't know if that would work either. So hopefully they'll be back to normal next year and just be one class.
Well, it feels like as each month goes by, we're getting a little bit of tiny back of normalcy back in the world, at least. So, Dave Weinberg.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah, well, I mean, I try to be positive with that.
Yep.
I think at the end of the day, people, listen, we're at a point right now and people are doing this milk crate challenge, and I think this is probably going to kill more people than anything else. This thing is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I mean, these people
I don't know anything about it. Okay. I stopped paying attention after the ice bucket challenge. I did that one, but that was my limit.
people can look it up, but basically the way it works is people are stacking milk crates in a stairs of like a triangle with a peak coming down. So you have to walk up the milk crates and then walk back down the other side.
Why?
Because some idiot did it on social media, and now there's all these videos now of people falling and breaking their arms and hurting themselves trying to do this milk crate challenge, and it's actually kind of pathetic.
Yeah, I'll pass on that one.
Yeah, I have zero
I have enough
interest.
time walking down the sidewalk as it is.
Listen, I've had enough injuries from sports. I don't need to hurt myself on purpose, okay?
You and me both, yep.
He's Dave Weinberg at Dave Weinberg 19. Check out all of his extra point columns over at 973ESPN.com. Don't forget the Tequila and Touchdowns with Dave Weinberg podcast as well. And he joins us each week here on Wednesday on 97.3 ESPN. Dave, go drink some extra water, okay?
Yeah, I actually have my grandkids with me at the moment, so we got to go get some ice cream before I go home.
Okay,
but that'll cool me off too.
That'll cool you off, but you still want a little extra water just to replenish. So
I'll do it. We'll do it. You do the same.
I got it right behind me, right over there. So
all righty.
Take care of yourself,
Thanks, Josh. I appreciate it.